There's an ocean of pure, vibrant consciousness inside each one of us. And it's right at the source and base of mind, and it's also at the source of all matter.
Nobel Prize-winning physicist Ken Wilson, who worked at CERN in its early years, developed the concept of renormalization, which essentially looks at how the behavior of a physical system changes when viewed at different energy scales. At higher energy levels, new and deeper structures of physical laws emerge, revealing previously hidden phenomena. This process involves progressively zooming in on a system by increasing the energy, and in so doing, stripping away the superficial details of lower energy physics to reveal the underlying, more fundamental interactions. Wilson used renormalization to show that at high energy levels, near critical points such as phase transitions in materials, new universal behavior emerges that applies to a wide range of systems. Essentially, by pushing systems to extreme conditions, near the critical temperature of a phase transition, for example, their underlying dynamics become more evident. In conventional science, this mostly applies to materials and phase transitions, but perhaps Wilson's concepts here have more to do with the nature of reality itself than we realize. When we do atmospheric testing of nuclear weapons, we could literally be ripping holes in the fabric of reality.
What if there's something about this technology that actually disrupts physical reality or changes time?
The current paradigm of atomic energy output is the Tsar bomb, which exerts 80 to 100 megatons of TNT. When we get to upwards of 1 × 10 to the 9th tons of TNT, we can start folding space-time at will.
If E equals mc squared, then the only way to get this sort of space-time metric effect is if you have enough energy.
You got it, because if you do it, the only two ways to warp space-time is with mass or a lot of energy. Think of mass and energy as the same thing. Mass is ice, energy as steam, okay? But they're both water, okay? So same thing kind of here, energy and mass have this relationship.
So you need to get Planck scale energy or something.
I cannot, if I use mass to do this, I need mass more than the Earth. I'm gonna perturb everything on the planet. So what's probably happening, it's a whole lot of that.
So for all we know, we're ripping little holes in space-time now, or sending out exotic electromagnetic or scalar longitudinal waves every time we do a nuclear test. This would explain why UFOs constantly show up around nuclear blasts, as documented by the great work of journalist Robert Hastings. In fact, in his seminal book, UFOs and Nukes, Hastings discusses intelligently moving green fireballs constantly showing up around atmospheric tests. These were documented by Edward J. Ruppelt, head of Blue Book at the time, and Dr. Lincoln La Paz, head of meteorology at University of New Mexico.
The rumors were they're probably Soviet surveillance planes. Surveillance planes, you know, and the controller told me they were basically stationary. You know, are the Soviets flying helicopters over Montana? I don't think so.
So again, with extreme energy output, you rip away higher levels of abstraction, getting to the root information layer of reality and breaking out of the simulation. This even makes sense in quantum mechanics. Remember Heisenberg uncertainty between position and momentum? Well, we also have quantum indeterminacy between time and level of energy. In other words, precise measurements between time and energy trade against each other, and high levels of energy might disrupt time. You talk about Trinity and you talk about Roswell, and similar things happen in the towns after the explosions. You have people report devils chasing them around and all sorts of paranormal activity.
Yes.
So are you opening up a window to another plane? You say that energy correlates with information.
Yes.
So if you have this massive energy kind of output, then all of a sudden maybe you can see more.
Yes, and it makes an impact that continues, that's permanent. So the question is it a way to, can we walk up the chain of events and can we get back to the source in some way? Well, the idea that they are from the future is one idea. There's an idea that's more radical, is that this is all a simulation.
The same bizarre effects may have occurred with Tesla and Thomas Townsend Brown's experiments. Agnew Bonson, who helped establish quantum gravity, which led to string theory with his Institute of Field Physics in North Carolina, was also funding Townsend Brown's high-voltage gravitational experiments at the same time. Bonson is quoted as saying strange things happen at high megavoltage across short distances.
Bonson talks about anomalous phenomena that happen when you get into extremely high voltages at extremely low currents.
He was clearly referring to Thomas Townsend Brown's work. Townsend Brown himself thought that his work had clear implications for time travel, and he was very aware that when you mess with gravity, you mess with time. And what about CERN? A single particle beam in the Large Hadron Collider creates 6.5 tera-electron volts. Collide the beams and you're at 13 tera-electron volts. I can't even begin to describe the level of energy output here. What does this have to do with breaking out of the simulation? Well, just listen to what public health expert Dr. Astrid Stuckelberger had to say about her conversation with certain CERN physicists.
There are beings from portals coming in and out. It's physicists from the CERN who told me this.
They've testified to beings coming in and out of portals.
Yes.
Okay, so that was the weirdest thing I'm including in this video, and it's definitely not hard evidence. I've emailed Dr. Stuckelberger. If anyone can get in touch with her, vouch for her character, or introduce me, I would welcome it. So I have no idea if portals are being created by CERN's beam collisions. But what about the American Particle Accelerator, the Cosmotron at Brookhaven National Labs? Cosmotron was the world's highest energy accelerator before the Large Hadron Collider. Well, apparently there was a UFO crash collected by the lab itself in 1992.
It's about 7 o'clock at night, and being November, it was full dark. And all of a sudden it was lighter out than it is right now.
And what about the plasma orbs that people in and around the NASA space shuttle have described? Or the controlled ball lightning that seemed to show up in Germany from 1942 to 1945 called Foo Fighters? Plasma is the fourth energy state after solids, liquids, and gases. It's what happens when you apply extremely high energy to something. For more on this, look at physicist Ken Shoulder's work on exotic vacuum objects. In Ken Wilson's model, an object's plasma state might reflect its true reality more than its lower energy instantiations. So maybe we get to deeper layers of reality, deeper levels of ontological truth with high energy output. And that's just one way to break out of the simulation, but one we should probably be pretty careful with and leave in the hand of experts. Maybe there are other, more natural ways out of the simulation we have a bit more personal control over.
People went to Eleusis as human beings. They walked away thinking they were immortal. This is the Fight Club of the ancient world. Whatever happened there, no one talked about it under penalty of death.
We have no Great War, no Great Depression. Our Great War is a spiritual war. Our Great Depression is our lives.
A certain percentage of near-death experiencers experience what's called a life review. And you're basically replaying every single event from your life, but you're doing it not just on a two-dimensional screen. It's as if you're in a virtual reality or a holograph. So Daniel Brinkley called it a holographic panoramic, three-dimensional review of your life. And so you have to replay every moment. But what happens is you have to replay it not from your own perspective, but from the perspective of other people in your life. So he was in the military and actually, killed people during the Vietnam War. He had to experience what it was like to take a bullet from himself. And then he had to see the ripple effects of that guy who died, of his wife and kids. How did this play out? What are the effects of your actions? And as a computer scientist, as an engineer, the question that I ask first is, if it can be replayed like that, it has to be recorded like that.
Because every single employee understands that they are part of a whole.